Sage's Brunch House, west side of Olympia.
And how long have you been in Olympia?
I've been here 10 years. Went to South Puget Sound Community College and then bought my business, which is Sage's Brunch House, and I've had that for 6 years.
And you had how many employees?
Around 10. A lot of them part-time, fill in, but collectively on the books 10.
My name is Jordan and I work at Domino's Pizza and I am a head driver and I've been working there for almost a year now.
My name is Katie Hudgins. I am from Renton, Washington, and I work at Burger King, and I've been working there for a year and a half, and I work at Evergreen today, which is a medical marijuana dispensary in South Seattle. At Burger King, I make minimum wage, and then at Evergreen today, I make $12 an hour, but there's a 3-week training period where you make $10 an hour before that. Approximately, I work 30 hours a week at Burger King, 30 hours a week at Evergreen today.
My name is Janda. I moved to Olympia in late January, and I started working at Chipotle, and I worked about 20 hours a week, and then I left that job in April to work at the SPSCC Campus YMCA Child Care Center.
My name is Amelia Pinzon. I live in Olympia, Washington, and I've been working at Bagel Brothers in Olympia for the last 9 months. I also work at Paisley's Cafe in the Capitol Mall, and I've been doing that for about 4 months.
My reaction is it's horrifying for small businesses, like really small businesses, because of the employment security tax, mostly for the payroll tax, is for the IRS is just way too high. It's almost impossible for small businesses to make it with the taxes they impose on each employee and how much they make. Yeah, so the minimum wage thing, even you're paying more to your employees, which means you pay more employee tax, but you're not taking in any more money. You have your same business structure, which is a certain amount, and it affects the business owner way too much for small business, for very small business.
There's a lot of small businesses around here, so I think that it would be harder for the smaller businesses to take that kind of hit and having to pay their employees more. But the same thing goes is if I didn't make tips in my job, making minimum wage, I wouldn't make enough to support myself. The tips are what fill that gap. I support the minimum wage being raised because working a minimum wage job and trying to support yourself 100%, and if you're not getting 40 hours a week, it's really difficult to make ends meet. It would inflate a lot of prices, and so I think it would be just as hard to make ends meet as it is now. Because
what I'm really not for is the tipping. One of the reasons, because of the business owner, they can't delineate where the tips go because they're owned by the front staff. And it was impossible for me to pay my kitchen staff anymore because of the payroll tax, the IRS payroll tax. So you ask nicely if they can split it more, but they don't have to, and they don't give a very big percentage. And so I think the tipping factor is more important than controlling the tipping rather than the minimum wage. Because if the front staff gets minimum wage, which is 15 something an hour, they're making so much money compared to everyone else. And so they have to pay, so it increases all, your business revenue isn't increased, just your taxes and your expenses are increased. And I think it's a huge detriment. For people that may actually make tips, for people that work in service industries that don't have tips, I think it's a perfect idea. I think everyone that doesn't get tips should get paid a very high minimum wage. I think that people that make tips as a part of their revenue should not get it. That's my bottom line. They should have a lot lower minimum wage, so it balances out more evenly.
Honestly, it's hard for me because I see both sides. I see how local businesses would be affected and how, people who are already struggling would no longer be able to continue. But, you know, working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week, one of them $12 an hour, which is a little bit above what our minimum wage is now, you know, I make far below poverty level, and it makes me think of all of the single moms with 3 kids working 2 minimum wage jobs. How do they survive when I'm trying to think of how I can survive and I'm just a single person by myself? And, you know, I'm fortunate to have a job that pays over the minimum wage that we have. So it's difficult.
Before I moved to Olympia, I lived in Portland, and I had a job that was almost full-time where I also made minimum wage, so I saved up quite a bit of money to move here. And if I hadn't have saved that money, I definitely would not have been able to pay my rent or pay my bills or anything, because I made like no money at Chipotle. I think that's going to be a good thing, because I think there's a lot of especially for single parents, I think there's a lot of young people trying to make ends meet, and it's really hard to be a single parent, have both parents working, and try to put your kid in childcare for the whole entire day while working 40 hours a week, trying to make ends meet. Or if you're a student, it's really hard to work part-time and also afford school and a place to live.
Basically, I feel it's almost a social experiment. A lot of people are in favor of it because it's a good thing. It's going to do a lot of good things for a lot of people who work really hard at what they do. But I feel in a lot of ways that they're going about it in the wrong way. To go from our current state minimum wage of $9.32 to $9.37 to go all the way up to $15 is a huge deal. That's a lot of money, especially for small businesses with under 500 employees who will actually go under in a lot of ways because they can't afford to pay their employees and they can't afford to provide benefits for even full-time employees. I know that my employers would give me a raise if they could, but they can't because our business is about floating even, and it's not fair to a lot of people that work really hard. But in a lot of ways, we're waiting for something great to happen so we can be able to do that. But currently, it's really difficult, and to even have that in Olympia to raise even to $12.50, we wouldn't be able to keep our business going.
A service industry person. McDonald's, drive-thrus, all the drive-through places. Those people, they can't get tips. You can't pass tips through the window. They don't get tips. And their minimum wage, they work so hard, long hours, and their tips are, and their wages are just so low for what they do. It's below living. They have to have several jobs, and you can't raise families on it. So I think there should be they should have a really high minimum wage. And basic service industry for waitresses in restaurants. I think they should get a lot lower minimum wage and somehow balance it out. I don't think it should be across the board. It looks like it's going to be, but that's my feeling. And that's the hardest thing to keep my business going was the federal employee tax. So if you pay your employees every quarter more than $2,600, you have to pay a huge amount of payroll tax, which you pay every month. And if you don't pay them, the fines are just so incredibly high that you can't ever get yourself out of it. So I think it's a small business conspiracy, personally. Personally, I think that the IRS knows what they're doing, and they don't make enough money off of small businesses, and I'm not really for that. Yeah.
I feel like I may have more money to support myself just because the marijuana industry is really booming right now, and I feel like they could overcome, I don't know personally, but I feel like they could overcome that kind of setback. But I feel like a lot of the places that I shop at would be shut down. There are a lot of antique stores and, a lot of places downtown Renton that are already just trying to get by, and it would affect me even if I do have more money. And it would affect my friends that are employed at those places as well. If I worked at a larger business, a franchise business, maybe McDonald's or Wendy's or Arby's or a fast food chain, something larger, I'd be able to make it, and I'd be able to make it really easily.
But working at a local business who sources locally, who gains rapport from everyone in their community, we wouldn't be able to make it. And I'd have to go about looking for a new job and not be able to stay where I currently am, because I know for a fact with a $15 minimum wage hike, we would not be able to keep our business. And I would have to go for something new. And I don't think I'd be as happy as I am now working where I do.
It's really a difficult situation. Basically, we're all just in survive mode. We want to support small businesses, especially the younger people, or people with good taste, people that don't want to be a part of the norm and the corporation mode. It's really blocking us out to have enough choices. So I think choose where you put your money wisely. It really, be very mindful about where you put your money, and really know the facts, and know it's just not blanketed. Oh, that's great for everybody, minimum wage, but really know about what it means to businesses. Like talk, dialogue, and really find the truth about it. It's just not one line. Politics never is just one line. Oh, this is good for the people. That's what they'll tell you. You have to really know.
Educate yourself. The biggest reason that I can't make a difference is that I'm not educated enough to do so. Learn what the laws are, because until you know what's happening around you, you really don't know anything.
Because if you don't know, then you don't know. So you really have to know your issues and know what you're talking about, and know your platform, know yourself, really know what you care about, what you believe in, and stick to that wholeheartedly. Because it's not easy being a Renaissance person, Especially in this town, there's a lot of Renaissance people, and it's really hard to express yourself, and it's not fair that we all can't have a piece of our pie, the pie that we want to have, and we're being shut out. And I think it's under the guise of minimum wage. I think it's just another thing that's taking our rights away, even though, this is good for the people. It's good for some people. So we really have to look closely at that, Get involved.
Nothing seems to be universal.
No. So really get involved. If you really care about yourself and your community and what you're doing, you really need to know the facts. Like take just a little bit more time and go online and study a little bit more, so you can actually talk about it and dialogue about it. Because if you don't do that, then nothing can get done, and you don't have a say. And we're supposed to have a say in this country, and we're losing our say every minute of every day.
I want to inform people in general to read further and research further about what is actually in bills and propositions. People look at the basic idea and see a good thing when actually there's a lot more consequence. Basically just being educated on the subjects would give way to a lot of a lot better ideas about what's out there, and a lot better ideas about how to go about making our city and our county and our state and our country a better place.
And I'm not very political. I'm not very, I do my part, I take care of my backyard, I know what's under my sink, and I know what kind of a community member I am. I don't take on things I have no control over. But what you do have control over is having your own right to have the type of businesses you want to go to, the type of life that you want to have.